Think about this for a moment. You appeared in a universe you didn't create, on a planet floating through space, in a body you didn't choose, following rules you never wrote, and somehow you're expected to figure out what all of this means. The more you think about existence, the stranger it becomes. Because the biggest mystery isn't what's out there. The biggest mystery is why any of us are here at all. Think about the strangest fact of your existence. You are here, right now, conscious, aware, able to think, feel, dream, and question, and yet you never chose any of it. You didn't choose to be born. You didn't choose your name. You didn't choose your parents. You didn't choose the country you were born in. You didn't choose the language you first spoke. You didn't choose the time period in which you arrived. And yet somehow, all of these things became the foundation of your life. For a moment, let that sink in. One day, you simply appeared in a world that was already moving. People were living their lives before you arrived. History had already unfolded. Rules already existed. Societies had already been built. And suddenly, you found yourself inside a reality you never consciously selected. If you really think about it, that is incredibly strange. Most things in life involve choice. You choose what to eat. You choose where to go. You choose what to believe. You choose what goals to pursue. But the biggest event of your entire existence, your arrival, here was not something you chose at all. And yet everything that follows is shaped by it. The circumstances of your birth influence your opportunities. Your environment shapes your thinking. Your experiences influence your identity. Before you ever made your first decision, countless decisions had already been made for you by forces completely outside your control. And this raises a fascinating question. How much of who you are was chosen, and how much was inherited? The more deeply you explore this question, the more mysterious existence becomes. Because every person believes they are completely unique. Yet every person begins life in a situation they never selected. Different countries, different families, different challenges, different advantages, different stories, and somehow from those circumstances an entire human identity emerges. A sense of self, a personality, a dream, a purpose. But where does it come from? Why are you you? Why did your awareness appear in this body instead of another? Why did your story begin exactly where it did? There are questions that science can explore, questions that philosophy can debate, questions that spirituality can contemplate, but there remains a deeper mystery that has fascinated human beings for thousands of years. The mystery of being here at all. Because before we ask what our purpose is, before we ask where we are going, and before we ask what life means, we must first confront the most astonishing fact of all. Against unimaginable odds, you exist. And perhaps the strangest thing about existence is not that we cannot fully explain it. It's that we often forget how extraordinary it is simply to be here. Now here's where existence becomes even stranger. Not only do we arrive in this world without choosing to be here, but once we arrive, we spend most of our lives chasing things that never fully satisfy us. Think about it. From the moment we're old enough to understand the world, we're taught that happiness exists somewhere ahead. Just work harder, achieve more, earn more, own more, become more, and eventually, you'll arrive at the place where fulfillment finally waits. So we begin the chase. We chase grades, then careers, then money, then status, then recognition, then success. And every time we reach one goal, something unexpected happens. The satisfaction fades, the excitement disappears, and another goal appears on the horizon. It's almost as if the human mind is programmed to keep moving the finish line. You finally get what you wanted, and for a brief moment it feels incredible. But then that feeling slowly fades. What once seemed extraordinary becomes normal. What once felt impossible becomes expected. And suddenly you're searching again, wanting more, needing more, chasing more. If you really think about it, that's a very strange way to exist. Human beings spend years pursuing things they believe will complete them. Yet when they finally achieve them, they often discover that the emptiness they were trying to escape is still there. A person says, if I just had more money, I'd be happy. Then they get more money, and they want more. Another person says, if I just achieve this goal, everything will change. They achieve it, and they immediately create another goal. The cycle continues, again and again. And this raises an uncomfortable question. If the things we're chasing never fully satisfy us, what exactly are we searching for? Maybe it's not money. Maybe it's not status. Maybe it's not success. Perhaps those things are only symbols for something deeper, a desire for meaning, a desire for connection, a desire for purpose, a desire to feel that our existence matters. And perhaps that's why so many people feel restless even when they appear successful. Because the human soul seems to be searching for something that cannot be measured, purchased, or possessed. Something beyond achievement, something beyond material success, something beyond the next destination. The strange thing about existence is that we spend our lives running toward things, only to discover that what we were truly searching for was never at the finish line. It was hidden inside the questions we were trying to answer all along. And perhaps the reason so many people never feel completely satisfied is because what they're really searching for cannot be found in the world outside them. And perhaps one of the strangest contradictions of human existence is this. We know our time is limited, yet we live as if it isn't. Every person on earth understands, at least intellectually, that life will not last forever. We know that every day is precious. We know that time moves in only one direction. We know that one day every conversation, every opportunity, every moment we experience will become part of the past. And yet, despite knowing this, most of us behave as though we have endless tomorrows. We postpone the things that matter most. We delay our dreams. We delay difficult conversations. We delay becoming the person we want to be. We tell ourselves we'll start later, when we're older, when we're ready, when circumstances improve, when the timing feels right. But life has a strange habit of moving faster than we expect. The days seem long, but the years seem short. A child becomes an adult becomes old. Entire chapters of life disappear before we fully realize they were happening. And when we look back, we're often left asking the same question: where did all the time go? It's fascinating when you think about it. If someone told you that you only had 1 year left to live, your priorities would change overnight. Things that seem important today would suddenly feel meaningless. Petty arguments would lose their power. Endless distractions would lose their appeal. You would become intensely aware of what truly matters. But here's the mystery. None of us know exactly how much time we have. Yet instead of treating time as precious, we often treat it as unlimited. And because of that illusion, we live carelessly with the one resource we can never recover. Money can be earned again. Opportunities can sometimes return. Mistakes can often be corrected. But time only moves in one direction. Every second that passes becomes part of a life that can never be relived. Maybe that's why existence doesn't really make sense. Human beings are aware of their mortality, yet they spend so much of their lives pretending it doesn't exist. We know the clock is ticking, but we rarely listen to it. We know life is temporary, but we often live as though permanence is guaranteed. And perhaps the greatest tragedy is not that life ends. Perhaps the greatest tragedy is reaching the end and realizing how much of it was spent, waiting to truly begin. Because the strangest thing about existence may be that, while none of us know how much time we have left, we all live as though we have far more than we actually do. And one day we realize that the moments we thought we could postpone were the moments that mattered most. And this is where existence becomes even more confusing. Human beings have achieved things that would have seemed impossible to our ancestors. We have crossed oceans, built cities that touch the clouds, created technologies that connect people across the planet in seconds. We have studied the stars, explored the depths of the ocean, and sent machines beyond our world. We can calculate the age of distant galaxies. We can predict eclipses years before they happen. We can unlock secrets hidden inside atoms. And yet, despite all of this knowledge, many of us still struggle to understand ourselves. Think about how strange that is. We can learn about black holes, but we don't fully understand why we think the way we do. We can map distant planets, but we often cannot explain our own fears. We can communicate with people on the other side of the earth, but many people cannot honestly communicate with themselves. For all our intelligence, the human mind remains one of the greatest mysteries ever encountered. Most people spend their entire lives inside their own minds without truly understanding them. They don't know where many of their beliefs came from. They don't know why certain fears control them. They don't know why they repeat the same patterns. They don't know why they sabotage opportunities that could improve their lives. And perhaps the strangest part is that we are both the observer and the thing being observed. Your mind is trying to understand itself. Your awareness is attempting to examine the very source of awareness. It's like a mirror trying to look at its own reflection. The deeper you look, the more mysterious it becomes. Why do certain memories stay with us forever, while others disappear? Why can a single thought completely change the direction of a life? Why do some people spend years searching for meaning, while others never question their existence at all? These are not simple questions. And despite centuries of philosophy, psychology, science, and self-reflection, we still don't have complete answers. Maybe that's why existence doesn't really make sense. The universe around us is unimaginably vast, but the universe inside our minds may be just as complex. Every dream, every emotion, every fear, every hope, every thought. Together they create the experience we call life. And yet the very thing through which we experience reality remains one of reality's greatest mysteries. Because perhaps the most fascinating discovery we can ever make is not hidden among the stars. Perhaps it is hidden within ourselves. And the deeper we explore the universe of the mind, the more we realize how little we truly understand about what it means to be human. And perhaps this is where the mystery of existence reaches its deepest point. Human beings are meaning-seeking creatures. We don't just want to live. We want to know why we're living. We don't just want experiences. We want those experiences to matter. From the beginning of history, people have looked at the stars, questioned the universe, and searched for answers to the same fundamental questions. Why are we here? What is the purpose of life? Is there a greater meaning behind our existence? And despite thousands of years of searching, these questions remain. In fact, the more we learn, the more questions seem to appear. That is what makes existence so strange. We have accumulated enormous amounts of knowledge. We understand more about the world than any generation before us. Yet when it comes to the deepest questions of life, certainty often remains just out of reach. The further we explore, the more we realize how vast the mystery truly is. Imagine standing on the shore of an endless ocean. Every answer you discover is like picking up a single drop of water. But with every drop you examine, you become more aware of how much ocean still remains. Life can feel like that. Every discovery reveals another mystery. Every answer creates another question. And yet we continue searching. Why? Because something inside us refuses to stop asking. There is a part of the human spirit that longs for meaning, a part that wants to understand its place in the story, a part that senses there is something important hidden beneath the surface of everyday life. Perhaps that's why people pursue knowledge, why they create art, why they build civilizations, why they write books, tell stories, and leave legacies behind. Deep down, we are all trying to make sense of our existence, trying to understand what it means to be here, trying to find significance in a universe that often feels unimaginably large. But maybe meaning is not something waiting to be discovered like a hidden treasure. Maybe meaning is something created. Maybe it is found in the lives we touch, the choices we make, the courage we show, the love we give, the growth we experience. Maybe the search itself is part of the answer, because if existence came with every answer already provided, there would be no curiosity, no wonder, no exploration, no journey. And perhaps that's the strangest thing of all. Human beings spend their entire lives searching for meaning in a reality they barely understand. Yet somehow it is that very search that gives life much of its beauty, because sometimes the value of a question is not that it leads to an answer. Sometimes the value of a question is that it transforms the person who is brave enough to keep asking it. What if existence doesn't make sense because it was never meant to be completely understood? Think about it. Human beings have spent thousands of years searching for answers. We have created philosophies, built religions, developed sciences, written books, asked questions that have echoed through generations. And yet, despite all of our progress, some mysteries remain. Why are we here? Why does consciousness exist? Why is there something instead of nothing? No matter how deeply we explore, there always seems to be another layer beyond our reach. At first, this uncertainty can feel frustrating. The mind wants certainty. It wants clear answers. It wants everything to fit neatly into a framework it can understand. But life rarely works that way. The deeper we look into existence, the more we discover that uncertainty is woven into the fabric of reality itself. And perhaps that's not a flaw. Perhaps that's the point. Imagine reading a book where you already knew every chapter, every twist, every ending. There would be no suspense, no curiosity, no discovery. The mystery is what makes the journey meaningful. And maybe existence is similar. Maybe life is not a puzzle to be solved once and for all. Maybe it is an experience to be lived, a journey to be explored, a story to be written. Perhaps the value of life is not found in having all the answers. Perhaps it is found in learning how to live despite not having them, in finding wonder in the unknown, in continuing to grow even when certainty is impossible, in choosing courage when confusion remains, because when you think about it, some of the most beautiful experiences in life exist beyond explanation. Love, hope, inspiration, beauty, connection. No equation can fully capture them. No definition can completely contain them. Yet they are often the experiences that make life worth living. Maybe that's why existence doesn't really make sense. Not because it is meaningless, but because it is larger than our ability to fully understand it. And perhaps our role is not to conquer every mystery. Perhaps our role is to engage with it, to learn, to grow, to wonder, to create meaning through the way we live. At the end of the day, the universe may never reveal all of its secrets. The deepest questions may remain unanswered. But maybe the purpose of existence was never about reaching the final answer. Maybe it was about who we become while searching for it. Because perhaps the greatest mystery of all is that a universe filled with questions gave birth to beings capable of asking them. Maybe life was never meant to be fully understood. Maybe the purpose of existence isn't finding every answer, but becoming the person the questions are shaping you into. And perhaps the strangest thing about existence is that while none of us know exactly why we're here, we all have the power to decide how we'll live while we are